I never liked being the last one in a building. I mean, does anybody? A little over a year ago, I was an engineering intern for a demolition contractor, which sounds more impressive than it really was. Mostly, I carried clipboards and I took photos. I wrote down measurements nobody seemed to read, and I fetched coffee for men who called me kiddo, even though I had most of a master's degree and student loans large enough to qualify as the GDP of a small country. The Wayland Elementary job was supposed to be grunt work, a busy errand, something that needed doing that no one with a salary had wanted to do. The city had sold the property after almost 10 years of vacancy. Some private developer bought it with plans to tear the building down and put up a high-tech fitness center, which felt cruel in a way I couldn't quite explain. One place where kids used to run laps in gym class was going to become another place where adults paid monthly fees to rent in place or not come at all. But my task was simple enough. Inventory anything left behind before the demolition crew came in. Everything. Lockers, desks, filing cabinets, old computers, textbooks. I was probably going to count everything down to the last dry erase marker just to be thorough. Whatever the district had abandoned when the school closed, it had something to do with insurance and property values, but I wasn't important enough to get the exact why behind it. Nobody had wanted the assignment, and not because it was hard, because it was Wayland. Everybody in town knew about Wayland. The disappearances started decades ago. One kid here, a substitute teacher there, a custodian in the 90s. Then, 10 years before I walked through those doors, an entire 4th grade class vanished during the school day. 22 kids, one teacher, even the goddamn classroom hamster was missing. Gone. No bodies, no ransom, no suspicious vehicles, no trail. People had said it was like the ground just swallowed them up. After that, parents pulled their kids out. Enrollment collapsed and attendance basically evaporated. The district limped along for a few months and then closed the school entirely when funding finally got cut. And then there I was, 9-ish years later, standing in the main hallway with a flashlight, a clipboard, and a turkey sandwich in my backpack. The flashlight was because the electricity was shoddy and only about half the lights worked at any given moment. The clipboard was to measure the progress of my torment, of course, and the turkey sandwich was emotional support. Maybe lunch later. The building smelled like dust, mildew, and old crayons. Hard water and construction paper. Schools felt wrong when they were empty. During the day, they're loud enough to feel alive, but at night, they feel like a big dead animal. Too still, I thought. I started with the classrooms. Most were stripped bare except for old chairs, broken projectors, and bulletin boards still bordered with faded, wavy-cut construction paper. Some rooms still had names taped to the cubbies. Some still had math problems written on the whiteboards. Room 116 had a paper star taped to the door. "Welcome back, Hawks." That was optimistic, I thought. The letters had peeled at the corners. There had been no one to welcome back. By 9:30, I'd counted 63 student desks, 41 chairs, 12 filing cabinets, and one decomposing beanbag that I refused to touch. I did find a neat cat-shaped coffee cup, though, and I considered keeping it. Eventually, I had made it through the classrooms in that hall and had gone on to the gym. There was equipment storage closets, and I supposed someone somewhere would maybe care about how many deflated rubber dodgeballs had been left behind. They had said everything, and I wasn't about to give one of the higher-ups reason to scoff and say I hadn't done a thorough job. I was halfway through the gym storage closet when the double door slammed shut behind me. The sound cracked through the gym like a gunshot, and I dropped my clipboard and yelped. For a few seconds, I just stood there, one hand on a stack of folding mats, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no voices, no movement. I forced myself to laugh. Old building, bad hinges, pressure change, went through a broken window. A pipe somewhere had met a threshold in the summer heat and popped, or something. Something normal, something safe, something logical. I retrieved my clipboard and started towards the doors. That was when I heard the scratching, slow, steady, directly beneath the gym floor. I stopped, and then the sound moved a few feet to my left. Scratch, scratch, scratch. My first thought was an animal. A big animal, maybe. A raccoon, perhaps? Or a cat trapped in the crawlspace? Something had probably gotten in years ago and made a nest under the floor. I followed the sound towards the center court. The mascot painted there had faded almost completely, but I could still make out the Wayland Hawks logo, a blue and gold bird with one wing raised like it was about to take off. The scratching stopped beneath the hawk's beak. I crouched and shined my flashlight across the floor. The wood beneath my feet bulged up like something was pressing hard beneath. I heard the wood splinter and felt myself rise, and for a moment my legs had lost the connection to my brain. That was when I saw the warning. It had been carved into the dusty wood in uneven, blocky letters. Do not open the floor. I remember thinking it had to be a prank. Some bored teenager or some urban explorer trying to make the place seem haunted for his tiny YouTube channel. Then something knocked beneath the words 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. I stood so quickly my knee popped. The gym went silent, and then a voice came from under the floor. I can hear you up there. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The voice was quiet, not deep and not monstrous. It was almost gentle. Then it came again. It's been a very long time. I should have left. I know that now. Instead, because people are stupid when they're scared and even stupider when they're curious, I spoke back. Who's there? I said. The floorboards creaked beneath me. The voice sighed. Not like a ghost or a monster. It sighed like someone relieved. It's been a long time, it repeated. My mouth went dry. Are you hurt? A pause. I don't know. What are you under there? Another pause, longer this time. I backed away from center court. My brain began doing what brains do when reality bends too far out of shape. It started throwing explanations at me. Maybe someone was in the basement, a homeless guy taking shelter. Maybe there was a speaker, teenagers messing around. Maybe I was exhausted. I hadn't eaten dinner, and I'd been breathing in old dust for hours. The building was creepy. The town had spent 10 years turning Wayland Elementary into a campfire story. That had to be it, I thought. Too much studying, not enough sleep, old stories making my brain do stupid things. I didn't tell the voice I was leaving, but it asked one question before I reached the doors. Are the children still upstairs? I did not answer that. I went to the office where I'd left my stuff. I got in and I locked the door behind me. Then I sat in the principal's chair with my sandwich untouched in front of me and tried very hard not to cry. After a few minutes, fear turned into irritation, mostly at myself. Then irritation turned into curiosity and a want to distract. That's always been one of my worst traits. There's a very thin line between being curious and being nosy, and I treaded that line so thinly all the time that I was basically a cat. The office still had filing cabinets. Most were empty, but some had been left behind. Old attendance sheets, maintenance logs, class rosters, inspection reports, parent letters, blah, 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 all that stuff. But I started digging. At first, I didn't know what I was looking for. Anything worth reading while I ate my sandwich, I guess. Then I found the box. It was shoved into the bottom drawer of a cabinet labeled Historical Materials. I guess the district boxed up relevant records before abandoning the building? Inside were photographs, newspaper clippings, old board meeting notes, and police statements. The first disappearance I found was from 1954. A second grader named Peter Lark vanished during a recess. His teacher said he had been standing by the gym doors one moment and gone the next. His left shoe was found on the gym floor, still tied, but nothing else. In 1961, a substitute teacher disappeared after staying late to decorate for a spring concert. They didn't note her name. In 1978, a janitor named Hank Meeks was reported missing after his wife called the police. His mop bucket was found outside the gym. The mop was inside it, but it was snapped clean in half. In 1996, 2 students disappeared during an after-school basketball program. Then came the file from 2014. the fourth grade class. 22 children, one teacher, and one goddamn class hamster. All gone between 1:12 and 1:19 p.m. No blood, no bodies, just overturned chairs, scuff marks, a hamster cage on its side, and a single sneaker laying beneath a skewed desk. I found parent letters next, angry ones, terrified ones. Letters begging the district to close the school. Letters accusing the administration of hiding something. Letters from people who said their children heard voices in the gym. Then I found the photographs, class pictures from different decades. At first, I only noticed the kids. Bad haircuts, missing teeth, stiff smiles, awkward eye contact with the camera. But then I saw it. In the 1978 photo, something tall and dark stood near the back wall of the gym. Too far away to see clearly and too tall to be a person. I flipped to another photo. There it was again. Different year, different class, but same shape. Always in the background. Always near the gym. Always watching. The oldest photographs were construction pictures from 1940. Wayland Elementary, half built. Workers in suspenders and hard hats, wooden frames, fresh concrete. And beneath the future gymnasium, an enormous pit. Not a basement or a foundation trench, a hole. A newspaper clipping had been folded into the photo sleeve. Historical discovery halts elementary school construction. The article said workers had uncovered what local historians believed might be a burial chamber or ceremonial structure. Professors from a nearby college had arrived to examine the site. The next clipping was dated about a month later. Sinkhole misidentified as historic structure, construction to resume. The explanation was short. Too short. City officials stated there was no archaeological significance. The cavity would be filled and stabilized and construction would continue. But I saw that someone had written a note in red pencil along the margin. They lied. Beneath that was a child's note written in pencil on lined paper. Don't talk to it. It learns from you. Well, shit. I was going over in my head what I had said to the thing when the gym door slammed somewhere down the hall, and again, I yelped. I had jumped so hard in my chair, something cracked and the seat leaned to one side when I settled in it again. I dropped the papers. The crappy flickering office lights went out, and for half a second, the building was completely dark. Then the emergency lights clicked on, washing everything in dull red. Of course, someone had decided the emergency lights should be red. I heard footsteps, slow ones, coming down the hallway. When they got closer, a strange, dragging sound came with them. I grabbed my phone, 2 measly bars inside the building, of course. I was going to try and send out a text to my boss anyway when, for the third time that night, I yelped. The footsteps had stopped outside the office and knocked. 3 knocks again. Knock, knock, knock. I held my breath. The voice spoke from the other side of the door. Madeline. I had not told it my name. My eyes filled with tears so fast I could barely see, and the voice continued. You should eat something. I looked down. My sandwich sat on the desk where I had left it, except the bread had turned gray-green with mold, the lettuce had collapsed into slime, and the turkey had gone dark and wet. It smelled like I had been sitting there for a month. I covered my mouth and tried not to gag. The voice said softly. Please answer me. I didn't. The doorknob turned, not enough to open, just a little. Then it just stopped, and the dragging and the footsteps moved away. I waited until I couldn't hear them anymore, and I waited longer. Eventually, I had to leave. Fuck this job, fuck this place, and fuck my boss. I was out. Staying in that office felt worse than stepping into the hall. When I opened the door, every locker in the main corridor was standing open. All of them. Hundreds of little metal mouths hanging wide. At the far end of the hall, the gym doors were open. A pale, flickering light spilled out across the floor. Maybe the overhead lights in the gym were on the emergency circuit? And then I remembered my clipboard. All the stuff I had tallied so far. Yeah, fuck my boss, but it was the only proof I had that I had been there and done anything. I thought about my student loans and recommendation letters, and then I hated myself. I walked towards the gym because I was dumb and apparently thought I had 9 lives. I was pretty sure I had already lost 3 that night. The voice waited at center court. The scratching had become constant. The knocking came from everywhere beneath the floor. It said. I almost didn't answer, but my mouth opened anyway. I tried to tell myself I was mad at it for I don't know, making me pee myself a little. What do you want? It answered by breaking open the floor. The floor split open and the sound was not loud at first. It was a crack, a groan. Then the old wood broke downward, splintered, and collapsed into darkness. The hole widened around the hawk mascot and then ate it. Beneath it was not dirt, not concrete, not basement, not stone, not a chamber. It was an abyss. Not a hole, just nothing. A vast expanse of nothing. No edges, no sides, no bottom, no light in or out. Just featureless black, but even without any features to orient my understanding of the space, I knew it was endless on all sides. Bigger, wider than the gym, the school, the whole block. A cacophony of sound rose and assaulted my ears. 1,000 voices rose from below. Children crying, adults shouting. Someone laughed. Someone was praying. Someone called for their mother. Then the voice that had spoken to me all night said, Mary. The hole widened. Something began to rise. At first I thought it was a person. Then I thought it was several people. And then to my horror I realized it was all one thing, one shape, one horrible fleshy shape that looked like a metastasized tumor of people. It had too many arms, too many eyes, too many mouths. Faces pressed through its thin skin and vanished. Children, teachers, men, women. Bones jutted out where it made no sense for bones to be, like everyone inside of it was just writhing beneath the skin, like a pregnant sack of flesh and people. The missing people, all of them speaking, all of them trapped inside the same skin-stretched shape. And then I understood. Not in words, not exactly. It opened itself to me. I saw the pit in 1942, before the school existed. I saw workers peering into a stone chamber with markings carved into the round cylindrical walls. I saw professors blowing lanterns on ropes. I saw men argue over money and deadlines. City officials shaking hands in closed rooms. I saw them fill the opening with thick concrete. I felt what was beneath it. Not evil, but not good. Old, sacred maybe, or wounded. Something meant to guard a threshold or sleep beside one or keep watch over a place humans were never meant to enter. They had found it. They had called it a sinkhole, an inconvenience. They had staked claim to its resting place, buried it, suffocated it in unbreathing, crushing concrete. They had built a school on its back. And when children wandered too close, when teachers answered voices they shouldn't have heard, when curious hands touched the floor above it, the thing lashed out like an animal caught in a trap. That did not make it innocent. It had taken children, and it had kept them. I felt them inside it. They came too close. I heard it whisper inside me, afraid, changed. I couldn't stop. They were still there. I came back to myself on my knees, sobbing hard enough that my chest hurt. The hole had doubled in size. The gym was folding inward. I rose shakily to my feet and ran. The school was collapsing around me. Lockers tore free from the walls. Ceiling tiles rained down. Classroom doors slammed open and shut. The floor beneath me buckled as if the building were being pulled into the mouth beneath the gym. I saw floor tiles breaking and falling into the black. I made it to the front entrance just as the hallway split. My right foot punched through the rotten flooring and something caught my boot, something cold and fleshy around my ankle. I screamed and kicked free, but my boot came off with my freedom. I I tumbled through the front door with one shoe and hit the parking lot hard enough to scrape both palms open and bust my elbow real hard. Behind me, Wayland Elementary imploded. Not like a normal building collapse. It folded inward. Brick, glass, steel, and wood all sinking toward the gymnasium, toward the buried door. By the time sirens approached in the distance, the school was a mountain of split timber and broken walls. I sat on the asphalt, shaking, missing one boot, crying, trying to breathe. Not because I was hurt and bleeding, but because something inside me was grieving, and I didn't know whether that grief belonged to me. I didn't understand why I was grieving. A whisper came beside my ear, so close I felt it move my hair. "Thank you," it said, "for seeing me." I snapped my head to the side so fast it hurt my neck. Nothing was there. A police officer touched my shoulder a moment later, and I screamed. At the hospital, I told them enough to sound believable. I said that the building was unstable. I said that I heard sounds beneath the gym. I said that the floor gave way. I did not mention the voice, or the faces in the flesh, or the talking thing beneath the school. The news called it a structural failure caused by a previously unknown sinkhole. The city cleaned up the site, and the developer delayed construction. Life, being rude and persistent, continued. About a year later, I had graduated. With honors, thank you. I was working full-time for a small civil engineering firm when I got a call. The Wayland site had problems again. Not a sinkhole this time. That was the issue. There wasn't one. There wasn't a sinkhole anymore. The construction manager sounded confused over the phone. Ground scans showed compact soil and stone. No chamber, no void, no concrete fill from the 1940s. Nothing that matched the city reports, the demolition report, or even the news footage from the collapse. My first thought was, of course, yeah, it was probably filled in at the collapse with dirt and stuff, but no. An entire sinkhole missing where it should have been, and the ground was too solid to have simply been filled in, natural or otherwise. There were edges when a sinkhole fills, a border between what fills it and where the edges are. But there was absolutely no trace anything had ever been beneath the old school. And what's more is that morning, the crew had felt a tremor, localized, strong enough to rattle equipment and tip over the site's standing lamps, but not strong enough to register anywhere else. They wanted a consultant who knew the site. I almost said no. I should have said no. But curiosity is a terrible survival instinct. The property looked smaller in daylight. No school, no gym, no hawk mascot. Just dirty temporary fencing equipment and men in hard hats standing around a folding table with site plans clipped down against the wind. The construction manager showed me the scans, and he was right. There was nothing. No sinkhole, no chamber, no buried concrete, no edge where something used to be. No explanation. "I don't get it," he said. "You were here, right, when it happened?" I nodded. "You saw the hole?" I looked over to the site. "Yes," I said. "Well, where the hell did it go?" Before I could answer, one of the excavation workers walked up carrying something in both hands. "Hey," he said, "you're Madeline Stanley, right?" My throat tightened. "Yes?" He set a boot on the table. My boot. The one I had lost the night Wayland collapsed. The one that should have been buried under tons of debris and hauled away with the wreckage. It was clean, not dusty, not damaged. The leather looked almost new, and on the inside of the tongue, written in a black marker, was my name, Madeline Stanley. I stared at it. I had written my name in my work boots so the other interns didn't get them confused when we had a site assignment. I remembered the warning I had seen in the photo that night. It learns from you. I swallowed nervously, and no one spoke for a few seconds. Then the construction manager cleared his throat. "So," he said carefully, "should we halt construction, or—" I looked back at the empty lot, at the clean scans, at the place where the gym had been and now nothing was. And I remembered the warning carved into the floor. "Do not open the floor." I picked up my boot. It was cold. Colder than it should have been, like someone had stuck it in a freezer for a while. From somewhere below us, far beneath soil that scans insisted was solid, I felt 3 soft knocks. Knock, knock, knock. No one else reacted. No one else had felt it. I turned to the construction manager. "No," I said quickly. He blinked. "No?" I looked at the machines, the stakes, the open ground, the men waiting to keep digging. I imagined what their faces would look like pressed against too taut skin from the other side. "You should not keep digging here." The wind moved across the empty lot. For a moment, I thought I heard a voice beneath it, soft, patient, almost grateful. But I didn't answer that time.